We've learned in the past that division by 0 is impossible. The reason for that is that if you think about division, which is essentially fractions, 6 divided by 2 means how many 2's are there in 6? How many groups of 2 are in 6? And we know that the answer to that is 3. If I say 6 divided by 0, and also going back to this, if 6 divided by 2 is 3, then 3 times 2 equals 6. If I look at this problem, and I want to say how many groups of 0 are there in 6? Well, no matter how many zeros I put together, I can never get to 6. So it makes no sense. Some kids would say, okay, well, it equals 0. But if that were true, 0 times 0 would have to equal 6, and we know that that's not true. So we've established the fact that you cannot divide by 0. The concept of restrictions on the variable in algebra is based on that fact. If I say, let's see, I've got, where's a good one? If I say 3x plus 2 over x plus 5, that fraction is in simplest form. However, if x is 5, if x is negative 5, then that would make the 0. So simplifying the problem is one thing, but then you have to go to the side. We say x plus 5 cannot equal 0, just like we did when we were using factoring to solve quadratic equations. That means x cannot equal negative 5, and this is called the restriction on the variable. It's x can never be negative 5 because negative 5 plus 5 equals 0, and as we've seen before, division by 0 is impossible. So let's look at one of these problems from beginning to end. Let's say the problem is 5a minus 10 over a minus 2. Well, we know in order to simplify, we have to first factor 5 times a minus 2, and this is over a minus 2. Normally, the way we've been doing this is that we would cancel these out, and that is true. However, at this point, after you've factored, you go to the side and you say a minus 2 cannot equal 0. Therefore, a cannot equal 2, and that is the restriction on this variable. Extend my steps for simplifying algebraic fractions. The first thing we do is factor the numerator and denominator. Now, before we cancel, the second step, and it's a separate problem, is to find restrictions on the variable. You do it to the side. It's like a separate problem. And only when that's done do you cancel common factors. So let's see what this looks like in a more complicated problem. Let's say I have 2x minus 4 over x squared minus 4. So we know that step 1 is to factor. So I can take out the 2 as the greatest common factor, and I've got x minus 2. I also know that x squared minus 4 is a difference of squares. Now, before I cancel, I want to go over to the side, and I want to say x plus 2 can't be 0, and x minus 2 can't be 0. So that means the restriction here is negative 2, x can't be negative 2, and x can't be positive 2. And then I continue my problem, and the answer is 2 over x plus 2. And remember, we can't cancel those 2's. Okay, what if the denominator is, let's see, where's a good one? Nope. Let's say the denominator is, okay, let's try this one. Let's say 4p squared minus 8p, and that's over 4p to the third. Well, we know that we need to factor first. So that's 4p times p minus 2. And this is over 4p to the third. So now over to the side I say 4p to the third cannot equal 0. And this one you kind of have to do intuitively. That means the thing that would make this whole thing 0 is if p were 0. So p cannot equal 0. I'm coming up with a good example for one. So I'm just going to take one from a factored point. If I have x plus 5 over x, x squared plus 5x over x times x plus 5 times x minus 5. Okay, so we would factor this numerator. We'd have x times x plus 5. Now in the bottom I have x. I have x plus 5, and I have x minus 5. Notice there are 3 factors, so there are 3 restrictions. X can't be 0, because if this number is 0, 0 times these other 2 would give me 0. X plus 5 can't be 0, making that restriction. X can't be negative 5. And x minus 5 can't be 0, making that restriction. X can't be 5. Those are the 3 restrictions on the variable, and the solution, or simplified version of this, would be 1 over x minus 5. Notice we do it before canceling. We find all of the restrictions. So that's really how you do that. I don't think we need to spend more time on that just yet.